Hello. How are you today, Dr. Gupta? It's so nice to have you. Had a little glitch there at the beginning, but that's what happens when I don't have my trusty partner, Atul Tyagi, with me. I'm flying solo today. Hi, everybody. Marian Harmon from Music with Mare, moderator of the Early Childhood Global Community. And today we have with us Dr. Sandip Gupta. Thank you, doctor, for coming on. I also understand that there's a very important cricket match happening right now in India. So I appreciate you coming on during that too. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Gupta. He's here today to talk about the subject of nutrition. So many people in the group post about this topic because we're not sure about what are the nutritious foods? How do we get our children to eat them? So please make sure that you write in the comment boxes today your questions so that he can answer them, because here's your opportunity to have one of the biggest experts in India talking to you about this. Dr. Sandip Gupta is a senior pediatrician and childcare expert in Bangalore, India. He has vast experience in the field of childcare. He currently practices at Aster CMI Hospital in Bangalore and is the founder of Baby Help. Dr. Gupta has been treating newborn babies, toddlers, preteens, and teenagers for 11 plus years. He has expertise dealing with common newborn problems, child nutrition, childhood infections, growth and development evaluation, and management. He's also an American Heart Association certified pediatric advanced life support trainer, and we need a lot of those. He's treated over 10,000 children in approximately 4,000 PICU cases. So you can feel safe when your child is in the hands of Dr. Gupta. So, Dr. Gupta, thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Marianne, for inviting me for this wonderful session. And thank you to the Early Childhood Global audience. And I hope I can make all the answers in a very simplistic way, which you can follow in your day-to-day life. So I'll be very pleased to answer all your questions. Please put your questions in the comments.
Yes, and right now we have a comment from Atul that he's so excited to have you here today. And we've had a few other people coming on to say hello to you and thank you for being here. So let's move to the very first question. What is nutritious food? And why is it important to give nutritious food to small children?
So let me start by saying that the second question is first to be understood. Why nutrition is very important for children? Because our body or our brain, it grows most in the early part of life. So because children's maximum growth happens in first 4 to 5 years. In terms of physical growth, like weight gain and height gain, you understand that the child is born around somewhere around 3 kg on an average, and by end of your 1 year he'll be around 9 to 10 kgs. So that is the tripling of the birth weight by the end of 1 year. By end of 2 years, child becomes 4 times his birth weight, and almost like by 5 years child has around 20 kg weight, so which is around say about 6 times the birth weight. So the rate of growth is maximum in first 3 4 years, and wherein the child is actually dependent on parents, because this time the child doesn't know what is his taste preference, what is good for him, what is not good for him. Whatever the way we nurture them, the way we bring them up, it is totally dependent on us as parents as to what food we give, what kind of food, and how many times, and how nutritious it is. These things are totally in our hands. And this is, as I go along telling you, we oftentimes believe that it is children who are not doing the right thing, and they are to be blamed for not eating well. But in reality, it is actually the parents' behavior which actually dictates how the child will reciprocate, and
Yes.
how what kind of habits the child will develop. So nutrition is very important, because you need to gain good amount of weight, because this is a growing age, and this is one of the rapidest growing age in humans, early 2 to 3 years. So what happens is, this time, like for us, we just need to sustain whatever our body needs. Just our whatever work we do, for that much calories we need to consume. For children, not only that it is required for their calorie expenditure, but they need to have extra nutrition for their body to grow in terms of bones becoming stronger and different muscles and a different kind of activities to develop in them. So they need whole lot of nutritional package to be given through food in this early age, and it is very important for their future life also, because this is just setting the tone of their nutrition and their dietary habits for their whole life. And not only that, it actually has a psychological impact on overall their personality also. Not food is something which is going to be dictating their personality also. As we speak along, I'll tell you how it defines their personality. So this is the role of food and nutrition, and it is very important for not only growth, like I said, weight and height. So a child, like in their first, at birth they are around 50 centimeter. A child is around 50 centimeter, and by the age of 1 year they become 75 centimeters, and by the 4 years of age child become 100 centimeters. So this is very important to know that child grows almost whatever the child's height at 2 years will be going to be the almost half of their adult height. So you can
Wow.
imagine how. So at the end of the 2 years, if your child is 85 centimeter, his adult height is going to be 170 centimeter. So this is very important to know that almost half of your body's growth is happening in first 2 years in terms of height. So this is how it is important. So to have right nutrition, because if you don't have right nutrition at this stage, you will be missing a major chunk of your growth opportunity or growth scope. So growth depends on many things, most importantly genes, but then nutrition plays a very important role, and especially in the early ages. So that's how important nutrition is. Now coming to nutrition, what kind of food is nutrition, valuable nutrition, and how we can actually have a base of like nutritious food. So major things which you look for is, it is going to be the food habits. So food habits, basically what you have to do is, you prepare your homemade food, you cook food for your child, and it has to be homemade food with natural ingredients. So as much as you use natural ingredients, and so as much as you use natural ingredients and homemade food, it is going to be a very good habit. So basically we divide children's nutrition in first 2 years of life and then beyond. So once child is born, first 6 months, it is basically breastfeeding is the best way to give nutrition. And if you give infant formulas, you should use the best quality infant formula, and make sure that you follow sterilization protocols, because always when you are using artificial feed or infant milk formula, that time there's always a risk of infections coming. The advantage with breast milk is it provides natural immunity to many infections. What happens is, mother's body throughout their life they have acquired many infections, and they have developed antibody or immunity against large number of infections. So that immunity gets transferred through the breast milk. When you breastfeed your baby, that gets transferred to your baby, and it protects the baby from many infections, as well as certain nutrients goes which help in the brain development. And there are a lot of researches showing the IQ levels of children who are exclusively breastfed for first 6 months is much better than those who are actually brought up on infant pill formula. So beyond 6 months, what happens is, you start giving your child semi-solid food. At this stage, it's very crucial to maintain the nutritional value of food. So what you have to do is, you have to maintain a genuine balance between the cereals, which is a source of carbohydrates, protein sources like animal food, as well as vegetarian protein sources, like you have soya, you have cheese, you have paneer, all these things, and dals, the legumes, so which we use. So these are all very important sources of protein. Vegetarian, non-veg protein source like egg is the gold standard. So whenever you use egg in food, you are giving complete all the total amino acid, 22 amino acids, which are essential for our body to develop in one food. So that is one of the most important protein sources for children. So I always recommend to my patients that if you are a non-vegetarian, you eat eggs, you should actually aim to give your child at least one egg in different forms. You can boil an egg, you can make an omelette, or you can give it in any form, cooked form of eggs to your child every day, to ensure good protein intake, because protein intake is very crucial for children to grow. Now coming to good fats is something which is to be unsaturated fats, like ghee, butter. These things are very good source of fat. So you need to give good fat to a child. And another important role of fat is, what happens is, your child is not going to eat a large amount of food at a time. Once the child is young, his capacity is less, stomach capacity is less, so he has to get in very small amount large amount of calories. As I mentioned earlier, the calories required are not only to sustain the activity but also to build up growth. So it is very important. So you need to give little amount of good fats in each and every meal. So there are three major meals we give to our children, that is breakfast, lunch and dinner. So every meal you should have some good source. So in India we use ghee or butter as a source of good fats, and sometimes cooking oil like olive oil, coconut oil are also very good source of fat. So this is why fat is important, because in lesser amount you can give large amount of calories. So if your child is not growing, try to introduce good protein sources and good fat sources. So this is very important. So I spoke about carbohydrates, protein. So carbohydrates comes from cereals. So wheat based food, rice based foods, oats, barley, these are sorts of complex carb which will help your child in having energy. Protein is very important for muscle growth, and fat is needed to be making the food calorie dense. So these mixtures should be there in each meal, each breakfast, lunch and dinner. And in between you have to always include small amount of green vegetables and fruits, which will enrich the multivitamins, multiminerals, which are actually needed to metabolize fat, protein and carbohydrates. So this is very important. So how do you do that? Between these three major meals you have to build some amount of extra food, which we call as snacks. So this snacks is going to be fruit juices, fruit salads, and you can make smoothies, and you can give finger foods also. So that is these two snacks are called mid morning and mid evening snacks. Between the breakfast and lunch you give a mid morning snack, and between lunch and the dinner you give a mid evening snack. You can use milk based products also for these snacks things. So you can use milk based things. So these are the things you should take care. So basically three major meals, and beyond 2 years or 1.5 years you can use whatever you are eating the same food in a little bit softer form for a baby. So 1.5 year old child can eat whatever you can eat.
May I
Okay.
interrupt you for 1 second, doctor? I know this is so important. I encourage everyone, they should be taking notes or watch the replay. But we have someone that put in a question here, and I don't want to get too far away from when they asked it. I think everyone was a little bit amazed by the height comment. And someone is asking, what are the major factors governing height? And I think that you just covered what those major factors are following that diet you're talking about. Is there anything else that is going to play a part in governing what height is going to be? And also, someone wants to know if you could provide diet charts. So I think you probably have them up on your YouTube channel or in other things you have published. So people are really interested in getting that information from you.
So my YouTube channel is and website is www.babyhelp.in, and the YouTube channel also is Baby Help YouTube channel. So that everything will come. Even if you search Dr. Sandip Gupta on Google search, you will find my videos and my personal website also. So it will be over there. And I can share the link on the Facebook group tomorrow if you want. In that group also, I'll share
Please,
some videos. Through one of
that
the
would be
videos, you
very
can.
helpful.
Yeah.
Very
So
helpful.
what the question asked is that what are the factors which determine the height? So there are
Yes.
few factors in height which is predetermined. One is your genetics. So genetics is like there is something called a height potential. So height potential means how much the parents are having a height. A child's height kind of averages around it. So it's an average of your parents' height is what your target height is going to be. There is always a variation, but we consider it to be a target height. So average and plus minus something we do, that is a calculation for doctors to make. I'm not going into details. So that plays the role in terms of determining your height, that is the genes. Second is your hormonal balance. And in general, speaking about hormones, if you are taking a normal diet and you don't have a disease, your hormones will take care of themselves. You don't have to bother about your hormones. What other things dictate our height is three things which you can control. Among that, the most important thing is your nutrition. And I was talking about nutrition, and this talk itself is all about nutrition. So we will be discussing it again and again in different questions through different aspects of nutrition. The second most important thing is the exercise and physical activity that promotes our bone growth. And as you know, our skeleton is the base of our height. So bone growth and bone modification is very important to get a good height. So then exercises and stretching, yoga, all these things play, physical activity play a major role in not baby health, it is baby help. HELP, help.
Help. Okay, we will
Help.
fix that.
Okay, so I was talking about that we need to take care of nutrition, then exercise and play therapy, because it helps the bones to grow. And third is environment. So child who is brought up in a playful and happy and good social environment, they kind of have very good growth potential. So these are the things. So two things which you cannot modify is your genes and your hormones. That is not totally in your control, but things which can be taken care of is majorly nutrition, physical activity, and the social environment. These things kind of emotional health, what we call, are going to be the factors which are modifiable, which can be done in a better way to have a better height structure. So this is what I wanted to say about height.
Okay, thank you. Now, some people are very confused about what do they do when the child doesn't want to eat. They get into those tantrums, and you're trying to feed them something, you know it's good for them. How would you handle that? Do you? Some people say, well, you just force them to eat it. I have a daughter that I tried that with when she was little, and to this day she won't eat eggs, and we all know how important eggs are. But I think that we need to come up with, find out what some of our options are for how to help when a child is pushing back. I don't want to eat broccoli. I don't want to drink milk. You know.
Okay, so this is a question which is asked every day at my clinic. So every day I have to spend time explaining to parents how to make the children eat, and this is almost every other child is like this. So what has happened is this fussiness. There are many reasons. So let me come up with the most innocent reason. What happens is in first year or second year of your life, child is growing very fast. So growth curve is like this, very steep curve of growth. Third year onwards, the curve becomes little bit less steep. So child's hunger or calorie requirement is not that high. So if you compare a child who is 3, 4, or 5 year old compared to a child who is in first year or second year, they'll be eating less, which is kind of a natural. So this natural fussiness you should not worry about. What you should think about is whether my child is having a good height gain, a good weight gain according to growth curves. So there are prescribed growth curves for each population. For India, we have Indian Academy of Pediatrics, and for you, you have the CDC. For India, US people, there is a CDC growth curve. So you should plot your child's weight and height and BMI on your curves, on your prescribed curve for your population, and you should see that where is your child landing up. If he is in the 50th centile, that's the standard. Even if he's above 25th centile, that is good enough. And if he's above 50th centile, you don't need to worry at all. So this is very important to objectively assess the height, weight, BMI growth of your child to understand whether your child is growing well or not. Because at the end of the day, you want your child to grow well. So half of the patients or half of the families can be reassured by just plotting their child's growth on a growth curve, prescribed growth curve for that population. So like I said, in US, you follow CDC growth curve, Center of Disease Control growth curve. And in India, we follow Indian Academy of Pediatric growth curve. So you should always plot your child's height and weight in a growth curve. If the child is in that 25th above centile range, then it is fine. Child will eat according to his appetite and according to his timings. That is in child's control. When he is not hungry, no matter how much you force, child is not going to eat. That is not possible. But what you should make sure as parents is you give nutritious food, you give calorie dense food, you give food which is going to be very healthy for the child. Then whatever the nutrition child will require, child will become hungry, and you have to just give it at that time. You cannot force the child to eat. You cannot have food fights. You cannot show anger or frustration on children. This is the one thing I always taught parents who come to me on a regular basis. Don't show your frustration, your anxiety, or your stress of the child not eating. Don't have food fights. What happens is child learns from your behavior. So when you show anger on your child will be becoming again angry on you, and he will be adopting that behavior, learning from you. He will think this is the way to react. So never have that attitude that you want to go to scold your child or going to force him to do. What you should do is you should play smart, be firm on what kind of food you are going to give your child, and wait for him to become hungry. A child will become hungry unless he is very sick. So if a healthy child is not eating, after some time he is going to become hungry because he is going to be in a lot of activities. So he is going to feel the hunger. And at that point, what you should make sure is you are going to give him nutritious food and avoid any kind of junks and snacks.
Ah,
So by junks and snack, I mean packaged food which comes from outside, processed food, which has preservative. So these kind of foods should be absolutely avoided. And what I have made a rule for my patients or my families which I am counseling and treating, you can give junk food only once, not one day, only once in a week, not more than that.
hmm.
And you should not try to please your child by giving them junk food or food, because food which is prepared outside, what happens is outside foods like pizza, burger, or any kind of chips, or like artificial food, they have a lot of taste making ingredients, flavoring agents. So normal food which is made at home cannot compete with these foods which are commercially prepared, because that is for taste. So once the child gets the taste of artificial food, they will never like the home food. So what happens is for us
Ah,
also, if we eat pizza every day, we get addicted to pizza's taste, so we cannot have normal food at home. We feel like craving for that. So children's mind is not mature enough to understand what is healthy and what is good for them. So as parents, our responsibility is to limit the exposure of artificial food. Only once in a week you can give. And chocolates and toffees, this should be also restricted because they have very refined sugar, which is again addictive. And with these tastes, no child will never like home food. And outside food actually is very addictive. It is going to attract the child, and then the whole diet thing goes for a toss. And you cannot make a disciplined diet pattern unless you stop your junk foods. So this is my most important message: is stop junk food at any cost. Let your child have some stubbornness because of that, but you just be firm on that, and child will come back to you, and because he needs you. So he will come back to you, and you give nutritious food at time, and at that time, and child will slowly start liking and adopting to it. One more important message which I have is eat as a family. All of you, at least 2 meals in a
yes.
day, sit together and eat together. What happens is child subconsciously mimics the adult's behavior. So parents, whatever they are doing, child is seeing, and the subconscious mind is actually turning to be graduated to that behavior. So whatever the adults in the family do, children kind of naturally mimic that. So if you eat together healthy food, the child will notice. His mind will notice my parents are eating this food. So they will slowly start eating that same food. And they will feel this is the norm, this is the rule. So they will gradually fall in line. So this is very important to eat as a family. Totally stop junk. Don't fight over food. Don't argue. Don't scold. Don't show your anger and frustration on the child. Let the child become hungry and come to you. And at that point of time, you give healthy food. Slowly, the child will start learning to eat healthy food, and that will take off his growth and development in a right direction.
Doctor, if you would look down, there's a question there from Atul. I think I know the
Should
answer
parents
to it.
control own eating, having junk food to walk the talk? How important is the doctor? This is see. This will not
I know
work
the answer.
unless yeah. So anything you want to discipline your child or make a child's habit good, you have to first adopt it. Like I said before, the child notices their parents and their elder siblings. So if anyone in family is doing what the child is not supposed to do, then child will not adopt to those behaviors. So you have to absolutely get your habits in line. This is very important. So you have to be having, that's why I told eat as a family. So you will eat nutritious food together. So everyone will be adopting the same behavior. And it is very important, not only for that, it is for learning manners, behaviors, and social interactions. So this is going to make him a much more disciplined as a child, and later on as an adolescent and as an adult also.
I think that that is one of the most important things, eating as a family. And we've gotten away from that a lot in the United States because we kind of cater to everyone's calendars. And in my family, 5 o'clock every night, everyone was seated around that table. And as you say, we develop our habits there. We learn to mimic our adults and what they're eating. So I think that people ought to realize that when they are saying, no, it's not important, we don't eat together, as long as we get them to eat, that eating together is so much more important. And yeah, being a good parent is not always convenient. It's easy to be a good parent, but it's exhausting to be a great parent. It's exhausting. And so sometimes you have to give up what's convenient for you to do what's best for the child. Before we get on to our next question, here's someone saying, hello, sir. Is it okay that our children does not want to taste new foods?
Okay, so this is very important. Many children kind of get stuck to certain kind of food. So there are children, and mostly practicing in India. So I'll give an Indian example. There are many children who just eat rice. They don't want to mix rice with vegetable or any other food. They just want rice and a little bit ghee, and they'll finish their diet. What happens is they're getting carb fat, but they're not getting protein. They're not getting minerals and vitamins. So they're stuck to one kind of food, and this can be only this cycle of only eating one kind of food can be broken only once you sit as a family and eat, because the child will see that my parents are eating this kind of variety of food. So they will slowly try to think, oh, should I taste this one, should I think what is like this, because if others are eating, child will like to see. What happens is, if your child is not having a toy and another child is having that toy, they're trying to kind of get into that toy and get that thing. So children are very, very having this tendency to copy others' behavior. So same thing happens with the food also. If somebody is eating so many things near them, they will have natural tendency to try that out. So that's why I'm telling, eat as a family. This will come. The other tip for your child to try new things is, try to mix the things he likes with things which he has not yet tried.
Hmm.
So suppose your child likes banana and he doesn't eat apples. What you do is, you make a fruit salad of banana, apple, pomegranate, mango, so many fruits you put. Let him eat banana only, but slowly he will try one more fruit. And slowly he will learn other fruits to eat. So one by one, it comes with slow steps. There are many children who take at least 7 or 8 attempts of one food to get used to the taste, especially in the early age, in the first year of life or second year of life. But you should be having that patience to persist with that, and slowly the child will come up. So two things is, you show them how to eat. You eat itself the food together with the child, and the child will slowly start learning. What my mother used to do it, that one bite she used to put in her mouth and the other bite comes to my mouth. So that is how it went for me. I still remember that. So
Mhm.
that is how it is goes. So if you have siblings, the two siblings can sit together, you put one bite in one child's mouth, automatically the other child will open his mouth and eat, because there's always rivalry and competition going between them. But there are many ways you can do it. Like I said, family method. Then you can try with mixing with the food he likes, and slowly you don't give up. Just give it a try again and again. One more thing which attracts children is a colorful food. So you make a plate with various colors, foods of different colors, and give it to them. So slowly they will try to try that combination out. Another way to make children eat like large portion of nutritious food is make smoothies. So smoothies, what it does is, no, you can make smoothies out of anything, any fruits you can take, and you can mix little bit honey, peanut butter, and cream into it, and add some little bit of good flavoring agents. So children like that colorful
Mhm.
smoothies. So that gives you a very good balance of lot of nutrition, and
Mhm.
it will set the child's nutrition in a very right tone.
Yes. And another point, I love colorful food, and that was like very interesting. Like when you study different cultures and all, it's like I come from an Italian background, and that's why antipasto is laid out the way it is. So it has green and red and white, the combinations to make it look attractive to the eye and then thus to the brain. I think a point here that comes out of one of Tool's comments. is that go into the grocery store. I think it's important to take the children with us when they are old enough to understand, so you can discuss with them what you're buying. Why are we going past all this packaged food? Why are we spending more time in the produce?
One more
Uh,
thing is,
Comment, go
I
ahead.
just like to interrupt you. Not only that you take them to buying shop and buy the food, also you can take help them from them while cooking the food. They can
Yes.
wash some vegetables. They can help in processing it. So little bit learning that way also comes, and it makes the children engaged. So once they're engaged in cooking, they'll definitely like to taste it.
Yes. So if if parents followed all these rules in a beautiful, wonderful world and children were responsive, we wouldn't even have to ask the next question. But unfortunately, we do. And it's not just nutrition that is a factor in obesity. A lot of it is this and screen time and no outside play. Um, but I know in the United States, we have a big issue with childhood obesity right now. There's a lot going on where in society they talk about not fat shaming people, and that there's nothing wrong with having some extra weight. So now what do we do about that? How do we um, cut back from obesity in small children? How do you handle that?
So first, we should understand what are the causes and what leads to obesity, and then what are the possible ways we can try to like not first prevent it. Causes, then there's prevention, and then if you are obese, then how to handle the situation. So first of all, like the causes, which is
I don't know what just happened. Okay, so Dr. Gupta froze for a moment, so hopefully he will come back, which is normally what happens. And we are talking about the childhood obesity. And childhood obesity would be something we wouldn't have to deal with so much if we follow all this wonderful advice he has given us. And I'm going to recap and encourage you that if you haven't watched this from the beginning, that you do watch it again, and it will be kept up on this page. Dr. Gupta has a lot of resources for you. Hopefully, he's going to try to come back in. He has a YouTube channel. He has posted several things to our group page. He's accessible. Reach out to him with your questions. When it comes to following his rules, then you're going to have the healthier children. So, backing up in the first couple of years of life, that is when you
okay.
will
Okay, I'm back.
develop height is. I was just recapping for you. So there you go. Go ahead, doctor.
I was speaking about the obesity. So cause of obesity, we need to understand first is, see what happens is we give processed foods, and that disturbs our metabolism. When you give refined sugar, it triggers insulin response in our body. So insulin causes us to feel hungry, and even if we don't need that calories, we feel like eating, and we eat more and more food, and then extra calories is stored as fat in our body. So processed food and simple sugar, like processed sugar, refined sugar, that is the actual major cause of obesity increasing, not only in USA, in India also. Availability of processed and refined sugars, they are triggering a large epidemic of obesity in children as well as adults. So processed sugar is to be avoided. You eat complex carbohydrates, which is takes time to digest and doesn't trigger the insulin response to a high level. So the moment insulin level goes high in our body, we feel hungry and we cannot control, because it is our body's natural response. So as much as possible, avoid sugar. You take natural sweets, like fruits are natural sweeteners. So that's why we should avoid refined sugar and take complex carbohydrates like oats, like whole wheat, whole grains. That prevents, first of all, obesity. Second is like we understand nowadays our physical activities are getting limited as much as possible, and COVID has again played a major role in that. But even before COVID, we had people who had less physical activity, sedentary lifestyle, and that is now reflected in children's life also, because like I said before, children actually mimic adults behavior, and no matter how much we blame children for their problems, it is all created out of our ignorance and our negligence, because we don't set ourselves as role model for children. We get into our children into bad habits. So for my understanding, I always tell parents, first you correct your behaviors and children will just follow you. So physical activity is absolutely important. You should spend 30 minutes in a day for your health and well-being, and play as a family. So I encourage parents to just play, spend time 15 to 20 minutes every day outdoor with your child. Take a ball, kick the ball, play a ball game. Just play whichever sports which engages the child into some physical activity, running, yoga, exercise, whatever you want. You just do it, but do it in outdoors, do it in a secure environment. Just engage a child in physical activity, that will trigger a lot of good responses in child's body, that sets the hormones in the right direction, that encourages child's health and growth. Like I said, height growth depends on the physical exercise, and it stops fat from building up in the body, because fat is not only overweight. Like we say, fat shaming should not be done, but fat has a lot of consequences. This fat, which is stored in our body, it releases a lot of hormonal disturbances, and it causes a lot of problems, and it can go to other systems also. People have sleep apnea, people have a lot of metabolic disturbances, diabetes and hypothyroidism and bone growth issues. So a lot of things happen when you get obese and overweight at early age. So that is a big problem, and PCOS is also rising. So I know you all understand what is PCOS, polycystic ovarian disease. That is again a byproduct of having too much central obesity and hormonal disbalance because of that. So these things can be prevented by having a good dietary habit, which is consisting of complex carbohydrates, proteins, avoiding too much sugar, refined sugar in form of chocolates, candies, ice creams. These things have very refined sugar and they are very tasty. But as I said, this sets in our metabolism in the wrong direction. So this should be limited as much as possible, and it can be only limited when the parents actually follow the rule. Now, coming to if somebody is obese, how can they get rid of it? So they have to first identify the cause and then adjust the diet. Sometimes nutritionists and dietitians, diet experts play a major role in reshifting the balance from the obesity to a normal weight child. And you should always take care of your nearest and trustable expert while going through this change. If your child is obese and overweight, you should always give a due importance to his weight and take consultation from nearest available healthcare expert, be it a nutritionist or a pediatrician or diet expert. So this is very important to balance this all things.
Wow, that is, I was just getting interested in PCOS myself because I'm noticing so many women of childbearing years now getting diagnosed with that, and you're saying that was just a like aha moment here, like how it all tied into the foods that were
These
being
are
fed.
all tied up with each other. See, obesity, PCOS, diabetes, hypothyroidism, and a lot of cardiac diseases. These are all tied up with each other, and they are
Wow.
just one step going towards the other.
Hmm. Well, we're getting near the end of our talk, and I know you need to check the score too. So, these were all such really, really great points. And I encourage anybody, please, if you have any questions, put them in now because the doctor is going to be leaving after he makes his final comment here to tie together suggestions. I mean, you've given so many phenomenal suggestions for diet and nutrition, and tied it all into everything else. So I am just very thankful and impressed with how well you put that all together. Atul, who probably he would be talking all of this if he was here. So now he's typing it in, and so many good points you clearly mentioned to us. It is crystal clear what needs to be given and what not. So, in closing, what suggestions besides what you've already given to young parents? So, now that we know the outcome of the bad eating habits, you've given so many good ones, you've given all those suggestions. Can you condense and say, moving forward, what do we do? A
So
tool like
one thing
just,
which is like I said, there are many things we discussed today. Out of those things, one important thing we have not yet discussed is your child needs your time. You cannot just put it on a back seat. See, parenting sometimes because of career ambitions, because of lack of time, or a lot of other activities, it takes sometimes a backseat in our parents' mind. But see, it's your child who needs your time, and your child needs you. So everything can be set in the right direction, provided that you are available for your child. And nowadays, what happens? Why the junk food came? Because the junk food issue is it is a psychological issue. What happens is parents are not able to give the enough time, enough spend enough hours in the day with the child, and they want to make their child feel happy at the end of the day. So they buy ice cream, candy, toffee, a gift, a reward, a cake for the child to be happy. They want a shortcut solution for their child to be immediately happy. So they just try to give in to the demands of the child. I have seen many parents just so blindly follow the child's demands just to make the child feel happy,
mm,
and that leads to a very bad consequences in future life. Child becomes stubborn and he believes he deserves everything, whatever he wants, and he will
mhm.
get everything. He has to get everything, and it has to be done for him. So that psychology kind of evolves, and it leads to all these problems what we discussed. So your child doesn't need things, the child needs you. That
Yes,
is how we put it at the bottom. So your child needs to spend time with you. You need to be present with the child. You need to hear out your child. You have to be a child with your child. You
yes,
have to be very simple and very engaging. Get to their level of understanding. So how I practice in my clinic is I behave as a child with a child. I talk to him as a friend, not as their pediatrician, not as an adult. I just try to think what my patient or my baby is thinking. What the baby is thinking, I will think the same thing. I'll talk to him what he will be thinking now. So I have kept an aquarium. I just show them the fishes. I ask them, what do you think about this fish? What do you think about that? What do you do? So you have to get into the mind of your child, feel the child, make the child feel that you are available to them all the time, and this will set the child's behavior, every issue, not only that food habits, everything in the right direction. That is most important.
mhm.
And apart from these, all the tips I have given you, those are actually whichever you apply, it will give you good results.
Thank you. And I really would love for you to please post in the comments the links. I know your YouTube channel has many topics, not just on nutrition, but several other topics that are extremely helpful. Tool is bringing one up here, but a tool that's just another show. He's commenting about the conversation you and I had before the show started, with the parents being concerned about when to get the kids back to school because of COVID. But that in itself would be another hour show. Um, and so he's written very important points coming from you, doctor. Be with the child, give them time, and be like a child with them. Yes, and last week I put out that quote that children spell love Time. That it can be said almost at the end of every single spotlight talk. Children spell love Time. And when we give them the time and we model the good behavior, their lives would be a lot better. So will ours. So thank you so much. Is there a closing point you'd like to make?
Now, I would thank to all of the audiences, and to Marian and Atul for inviting me. I hope it was a useful talk to all of you. And if you have any doubts and questions, you can directly reach out to me. I am available at my drsandipgupta.in is my personal website, and the babyhelp.in is my overall website which I have all my blogs and YouTube channel present over there. A lot of videos I have made on different issues which are faced by parents day to day, and many questions which come up in my day-to-day practice, clinical practice. Many parents ask the questions repeatedly. So my idea was to make these videos useful for everyone, so that they can get the common solution for whatever is the questions. And if you want to ask me individually, the Facebook, I am there. You can message me on Facebook Messenger. I'll try to reply to the answers as much as possible. And hope you like this session. Thank you so much for everyone on Early Childhood Global platform. It's been a wonderful opportunity for me to interact with the audiences. I hope this was very useful. Thank you.
Thank you. I know it was very useful. We appreciate your time.